Okay, y'all, I just finished my favorite project so far on my workshop, and that is these cute little window boxes. I did one for each of the 4 windows, and I just think they make such a difference to the look of the workshop. It adds such a cute addition. So I do have to admit that I filled them with fake plants for now, because even though I'm in Texas, we do still kind of have a winter, and it's getting below freezing every night, and I just didn't want to buy real plants only to watch them die as they freeze. So for now it's fake, but come spring I will fill them with real plants, I promise. So anyway, but for now let me show you how I made these. For the last few weeks, I've been working on transforming my outdoor workshop into something that looks like a little cottage in our backyard. I have built and installed shutters and painted the front door, and then I added skirting around the bottom of the building, and my last project was building these steps. So then I wanted to add window boxes. First I had to get some measurements. I measured the width of the window and then the width between the shutters, and then from there I just kind of determined about 2 inches wider than the window is what I would use for my window boxes. I made these window boxes out of 1x8 PVC boards, and I started by cutting the bottom of the boxes. I'm making 2 boxes at one time. So I cut the bottom of the boxes to my finished width, which is 34 inches minus 1.5 inches. So 32.5 inches. And next I cut the pieces for the ends. I cut these to 7.25 inches. Once I had the bottoms and the sides cut for both boxes, I kind of propped the sides up against the bottom just so that I could take a measurement for the front and back pieces. I knew that it should be 34 inches, but I wanted to make sure that it was exactly 34 before I cut these next pieces. And it was, so I went ahead and cut the front and the back to 34 inches, the finished width of the boxes. Here's a quick look at how the box will go together. So with all of my pieces cut, I was ready to assemble the boxes. I started with the end pieces, and since this is PVC boards, I used PVC glue. And I used a pretty generous amount of glue because you really want to make sure that this stuff is wet before you put the 2 pieces together. And then I nailed the pieces together using 16 gauge 1.5 inch nails. Next, I was ready to attach the front and the back pieces. So I placed the first pieces on the side, and then I had to work very quickly with this because, again, this glue, PVC glue, dries fairly quickly, and you just want to be sure that it's very wet when you put the pieces together. So I did work very quickly to put the glue on both pieces. And then I was ready to nail those together. And once that side was finished, I repeated that process on the other side. Okay, so at this point, I just have a very basic box. I mean, it really doesn't get any more basic than that. One thing that I did, I made a mistake on this end. Since these end pieces are square, I put my grain going the wrong way. It should have been going horizontal, and I put my very first piece vertical. I'm not real concerned about it. I'll just put this on the far window on the back with the wrong piece facing the back of our property to hide that. But I'm going to make very certain on the other three that I get that right, because you want the grain going the right way all the way around the box. I quickly assembled my second box, and this time I made really sure that I put all of the pieces going the correct way so that all of the grain was going horizontally all the way around the box. All right, I have two boxes made. They're just very simple boxes. And I'm considering going ahead and attaching the boxes to the workshop before I add the rest. I have trim that I want to add here and here, and then I have corbels that I want to add to the bottom. And PVC is heavy. So the more that I add to this, the heavier it's going to get, which, you know, since I work by myself, it's going to be even harder to attach to the workshop. So I think I'm going to attach these and then finish them up, I think. I did decide to go ahead and hang the boxes just like this. And in order to do that, I started 3 screws through the backs of them, just so that I wouldn't have to try to fumble around with screws while holding a box, and that it just wouldn't have worked. So I went ahead and started these screws. I used 3 3-inch exterior screws for this. And then I held the box in place and screwed it to the outside of the building. This was actually much easier than I thought it would be. Next, I cut the trim for the boxes. This is what would take the boxes from a plain, simple box to an actual flower box. I started with the trim for the top, and for this I used a trim that's called shingle mold. This trim is also made of PVC. For the two side pieces, I cut those straight on the ends that would go against the building, and then on the ends that would go towards the front of the flower box, I cut those at 45-degree angles. And then, of course, the front piece had to be mitered on each end. I attached all of the trim using PVC glue and then 18 gauge finishing nails. For the bottom trim, I wanted to use something smaller, and so I used a trim called base cap. This is usually used on baseboards, but it's a really pretty trim that I've used for many different purposes, and I thought it was perfect for this. I have the two trims on. I think it's looking so good. I am not pleased with this though, so I think I'm going to do something to cover up the corner, kind of like the trim on the corner of my building here. And what I think I'm going to do is take some 1x leftovers that I have and just trim those down using my table saw and my miter saw to get them thin, so they're not going to be actually 1x. They're going to be just thin strips thin strips to go here and here, just to cover up that corner. And I'll put one here too to cover that up. So I'm gonna go cut those real quick. So just to be clear, I had some leftover 1x2s, and I just used my table saw to cut those into really thin strips that were about 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch. And then I used those to cover over the cut edges of the 1x8s. Here is the basic build of the window box. Of course, it'll need to be caulked and painted, and my final step is that I'm going to add some corbels down here that I bought for it. The corbels are also made of PVC, so they will hold up to the weather. Here are the corbels that I bought, and so I'm just going to hold it right up underneath here. Oops. I'm going to hold it right up underneath here and then screw it in from the top. So I already have my screws started, and those marks are just I put the corbel inside to see where I needed to put the screws. Okay, so let me get this screwed in. There's the first one attached. I don't know if my screw did that, kind of split it. I don't know if my screw did that or if it was like that to begin with, but it's not a problem. I'll just fill it with a little caulk, or I might even use some exterior wood filler before I paint it. I just got the second corbel on, and so here is my first finished window box. I mean, it's not completely finished, but the build is finished. And now I have to caulk and paint. But isn't that cute? I just think that's so cute. Unfortunately, I never did get to caulk and paint them. I still have to do that because the weather just has not been cooperative. So as soon as the weather gets nicer and I have a few days of sun, I will caulk and paint everything. But for now, I'm just enjoying my cute little flower boxes, even though they are filled with fake plants. For now. So just as a reminder, this is what my building started out looking like. And here is what it looks like as of this project. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell next to it so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And of course, you can always find me and my latest projects over on addicted2decorating.com. See you next time.